The following tutorial is brought to you by WholeLoops.com.
And 3, 2, 1. It's production time. I'm Reid Stefan, realest puppet in the game, here with mixing and mastering legend, Luca Pretolesi. He's about to give us an inside look at all the functions, features, and inspiration behind his brand new plugin with acoustic audio and studio DMI titled Diamond Transient. Let's go.
How are you doing, Reid?
Doing so well. I can't explain how excited I am to hear this new plugin.
Well,
I'm sure a lot of you guys are too.
That's awesome. Well, there is one thing, it's a fact. You are the first person or puppet that it's with me in the studio going over this plugin. It's a brand new, and I'm super excited to share with you guys what it's about.
Nice.
Why this plugin, what is the best application, and the features. Should go in?
Yeah, let's check out the top secret stuff, you guys.
Let's go. So number one, let me grab something. Yeah. So everything was inspired by this guy. So this is a controller for a very old unit from DBX. It's called 3BX. It was a restoration unit for hi-fi use. It has a small RCA pin in the back, and this is a remote controller. There's no audio. It's just a remote, and there's a rack unit. And the purpose back then was when you listen to vinyl 3-4 times a day, so 300 times, 200 times, you start to kind of like lose dynamics. And you start to get a lot of like noise from the actual vinyl. And the purpose was to create an expander to recreate dynamics. Now, me being obsessed with transient and multi-band approach, I kind of discovered the unit about 5 years ago, and I use them on counters of record. I use on so many records, kind of doing the analog version of, I don't know, Ozone Alloy, or any transient design you can think on the plugin format. So it's getting a very good organic sound with expansion. Now, taking this into the Diamond series, we kind of like make a Frankenstein version of that, adding a lot of features that I cannot wait to show you.
I'm so excited to see this.
Let's go. So that plugin, it's meant to be for busing purpose, in my opinion, for mastering, for stereo bus, more than individual channel. The approach is 3-band expander or compressor. The plugin, it's called Diamond Transient. It has 2 different units under one package. There's the LP3X, that it's, again, a dynamic transient designer, which is including expansion and compression, and a Diamond Transient Dyne F. Dyne F, it's a kind of unique unit because it's a dynamic low-cut filter, low-pass filter, and 1-band dynamic EQ. This unit was inspired by another piece of gear that I have here on my rack. It's called Expounder. So the combination of the two is extremely powerful. Usually my workflow starts from my drum bus. So if I capture 50 stems of drums, or I capture only 4 stems of drums, I always route to a drum bus. The drum bus can be analog or can be in the box. After the release of the Transient, I retire the DBX, 3BX, because essentially I have the same quality, the same sounds, way more options. So let's focus on drums first and take an opportunity to understand the plugin a little bit more. When you turn the plugin on, you have the simple version of the interface. In the back is the same, but visually you have less information. You can dial in with transition time, attack time, release time really quick. Mainly, you want to think this as a multi-band transient designer that allow you to even focus in one single band if you want, using the bypass that we have on the 3-band.
I love that.
So everything that we'll see on those unit, essentially it's meant to be a feeling. We don't want to read if it's we're doing 1 dB, 2 dB compression expansion. We want to feel it. That's been the idea from the color EQ to lift, now on transient. To go by feeling, just speed up the process, have fun. That's the main thing. I would like to touch a little bit on mastering, Reid. How you feel?
Let's do it.
Let's go. So the transient designer, don't think transient designer is meant to be a production tool. The transient designer essentially is an expander and a compressor. So if I feel that a combination of little bit expansion, little bit of compression, little bit of clipping will take my master to the level that I want, it's something that I want to do it. Now, what is the difference? Do it in a more controlled way. You don't want to over compress or over expand your master. It has to be strategic. So one of my techniques from very long time has been compress the mid-range, expand the top and the bottom. With the LP3X, we can absolutely achieve that.
Hello, my name is Luca Pretolesi, and welcome to my Mix Lab. This week, I'm teaching you how to mix and master your track with Diamond Transient by Acoustica Audio and Studio DMI. I'm sharing my personal workflow and presets for drums, bass, and mastering. Subscribe now to watch this plus new videos every week, only at mymixlab.com.
So let's start first to compress the mid-range a little bit. So I bypass the low band, the high band, and I focus on that first. I have a feeling of more control. Now we're bypassing the bottom and the top, so you're gonna feel the mid-range coming up, but then we're gonna feel the bottom and the top with the sweet expansion. So for now, we focus on that. Let's actually solo the mid-range, which is the way to do solo mid-range. Let's just simply mute the bottom and the top. I want to find the right attack time to give time the transient to come through and then stop. All right, let's do expansion on the bottom. Yes. Expansion on the top. A little more room to bring the mid-range even higher in the mix. Let's try it with a attack shape 1, which is a little slower. So knobs at the bottom, it's a makeup gain. Knobs on top, it's trim between compression and expansion.
That's good to know.
The clip set, we have 3 types of clipper. Go from hard clipping to medium soft clipping to soft clipping. They're taking kind of like the sound of lift, but this is more, it's a little faster, the clip set 1, than lift. Very good for mastering if you're doing very little, and use the clipper LED to just give you an idea when we're clipping. What we're doing, we're keeping everything under 0. So let's put a meter to see if we're really keeping under 0. Let's do that. There we go. There we do. No over 0. Now, as an option, let's try to parallel the entire master a tiny bit to give back a little bit the dry, a little bit. There we go. Before, just bring the guitar. After. Before. After. I feel it's a very modern sound, very snappy, fast transient. That's a combination of like multi-band transient reshaping on the drums and be able to kind of have the final touch on the mastering. Now, I encourage you to try different solution also on background vocal, for example. When you have a lot of like lead vocal being printed with the same stem with the background and the lead is get lost, you can just use the mid band to create a little bit of expansion to bring it up.
Wow, so I gotta try that.
It's a very versatile tool. We have a lot of fun. It's been a blast working on this plugin and I'm excited to share with you, Reid. I mean, I encourage to don't get stuck to what you think the Transient can do. Use the Transient as a tool for anything you think you can do to enhance dynamic, enhance the feeling of your music.
Yeah, there's so many sounds other than drums that could use a transient designer. Like you said, your whole master bus, putting it on a vocal group to bring out some of the mid-range.
Exactly.
And like you said, if you turn the knobs one way, it's expansion, and you turn the knobs another way, it's a compression.
Straightforward.
So I really can't wait to get my hands on this because there's times where I probably would experiment with expansion or compression when I normally wouldn't just because I have it at my fingertips. So I love the fact that you have the option of going left for one or going right for the other with the same knob. That's genius.
That's awesome. And one thing I also want to share to close this conversation is, what is the difference of mixing individual parts of the drums versus grabbing the drums and making cohesive? When you deal with Transient as a group, you might discover and get ideas that you can get when you are in solo mode.
Yeah.
When you get a kick and a snare, you're reshaping those individually. You're not getting the same result of taking the entire drums, for example, and reshaping as a one solid element.
That's very true, and you end up pulling a lot of little details up that you wouldn't have really noticed. Like when you listen to a shaker by itself, you wouldn't notice the details coming out, but when you listen to the whole drums group, you're like, wow, the details in that shaker are really nice.
That's very true. There's a point also, the fact that you are in relationship with other sound. So when you're in solo mode, well, essentially you are not point of reference. When you're working on the full drums, and now you have a ride and a crash in relationship with a snare in the tom, that's when the music kind of like guide you through certain ideas that you want to do. I'm very encouraged to always have a bass line if you have in relationship with the drums when you're reshaping drums.
I love that.
Well, guys, fantastic. I mean, I'm glad. That's the first official tutorial on the Diamond Transient. It's amazing.
You guys got to see it here first. Luca, thank you so much for blessing this channel one more time with your just endless knowledge and again, providing us with a tool that will not only change our mixes, but our masters too. I am so excited to get my hands on the Diamond Transient and see how many things I can transient shape with this plugin. Thank you so much, Luca, and we'll catch you guys next time in another tutorial.
Thank you,
Peace
guys.
out.
Thank you.
Hey.